without further ado, now we have wrapped up Division 1, Region 1, Division 2, Region 5, Division 2, Region 6. My cohort, my compadre.
Oh, I knew it was
going to
come up at some point.
The bees.
Sean Duffy will.
I will give you a Reader's Digest version of Division 3 Region 9. How about that? Because Division 3 Region 9 had two teams from the Suburban League American Division. One of those teams, the number 8 seed Aurora Greenman, taking on the number 1 seed Canfield Cardinals. And Aurora, who had clawed their way, kicking and screaming from a bad start into the Division 3 Region 9 playoffs, well, they ran into a buzzsaw in the Canfield Cardinals. They were completely dominated by Canfield in this game. Canfield's defense prevented the Greenmen from even crossing their own 45-yard line until about 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Jeez. Canfield outrushed Aurora 210-97 for the entirety of the game. Canfield with a 23-0 win over number 8 Aurora. Aurora, unfortunately, this finishes their season at 6-5. Canfield moves on to play Notre Dame Cathedral Latin in the regional semifinals, and that will be played at, I believe, Revere High School. I believe. Let me double check.
No, that's your next game.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. Sorry about that, folks.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's give credit to Canfield for holding Aurora to 0 points. I mean, Aurora has kind of had an up-and-down season, but it's because their competition they played this year I thought was pretty incredible and impressive. But like I said, Canfield, shutting them out, that's a huge feat, and Canfield is a pretty impressive team.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at a team like Aurora, they had a mountain to climb just to get into the playoffs. I mean, they went 0-3 in non-conference, and then they basically, aside from running into that buzzsaw that is the Barberton Magics, had a very, very impressive conference play and got in because they were able to really play well against a Mifflin team who made the playoffs. So, Aurora got in there, but, Canfield's 11-0, and then they're 11-0 for a reason. They've pretty much run the table. They have run the table on every team they've played. And now Canfield moves on to play number 4 Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, who got a 38-14 victory over Alliance on Friday night. So those two teams will meet this Friday at Warren G. Harding High School. Now, my game of the week, the Division 3 Region 9 game of the week, found two teams that were very familiar. And Josh, Jeffy, if you're listening, I'm about to do the Buckeye recap. So if you could just pay attention, I'm about to do the Buckeye recap. It's important. You need to make sure that you know that Buckeye recap is coming. But yeah,
it's bad to text him that right now.
Yeah. Well, he's very busy. I don't want him to come back and say, "Hey, Sean, did you do the Buckeye recap?" Because the people at Buckeye want to know, and I get that. And so I'm going to move on. So my game of the week this week was the number 7 Talmadge Blue Devils out of the Suburban League Suburban League American Division, coming in facing the 10-0 number 2 seed Medina Buckeye Bucks, champions of the Patriot Athletic League Stars Division, and looking to get their first ever playoff win at home. Talmadge was first to get on the board as they started with their opening drive from their 15-yard line, marching 85 yards. And the Blue Devil offense, which has been led all year by senior running back Ty Shannon, they made it very clear that he was going to be the workhorse of the night. He ran the ball almost the entire night. Talmadge was able to score on a 3-yard touchdown run by Ty Shannon, and Talmadge was out to an early 7-0 lead. But again, this first drive almost took up about 6 to 7 minutes of game time. So one of the things that we noticed, Rob, was both of these teams, Buckeye and Talmadge, played very, very, very good ball control offense.
Yeah, there
was not a real wasted effort in these offensive drives.
There were a few big plays,
right?
But like we've seen all year, a lot of big plays to score touchdowns. These were actually really solid drives by both teams. I thought Buckeye might have a few really big plays to score on, but give credit to both defenses for keeping the ball in front of them.
In Buckeye's first offensive possession started on their own 36, and they began driving, getting all the way to the Talmadge 43-yard line. But again, the Talmadge defense was stout this night, and they were able to stop the Buckeye offense from getting those critical first downs that keep those drives extending. On the flip side, Buckeyes' calling card all year had been good defense. They've been stopping teams. They've been getting in the backfield. And even though they gave up that opening drive score and to Ty Shannon, they really then focused in on Ty Shannon and, really kind of stopped that, got them behind schedule. They were, they instead of 1st and 6 or 2nd and 6, they were looking at 2nd and 13, 2nd and 14. And that, for a team like Talmadge, who doesn't pass the ball a lot, and who relies on that run and relies on that ball control, when they get behind schedule, then they couldn't get a lot of yardage and weren't able to successfully move the chains. So at the end of the first quarter, Buckeye was down 7-0, but you could kind of feel like this was going to be one of those defensive onslaughts of game. Now the Bucks offense got the ball to start the second quarter, and they have been led all year by senior quarterback Adam Favre, whether it be throwing, running, catching, whatever Buckeye needed Adam Favre to do, he was able to do, and his number was called a lot. It was Favre's legs that got the Bucks on the board first, thanks to a 5-yard touchdown run, but a blocked extra point resulted in Talmadge still holding a slim 7-6 lead midway through the second quarter. Now, at this point in time, each team traded punts. I think each team punted twice during this, so there was a lot of 3-and-outs. So this is where the defense kind of came into play. But Talmadge got back on track thanks to their workhorse running back Ty Shannon, gaining 60 of the 69 yards on the scoring drive. At one point, Ty Shannon, I think, took a snap because I don't remember anybody else touching the ball on this drive. It was 69 yards, and he ran about 60 of them. I think the quarterback, Sam Seeker, ran for a 6-yard run, and I think it was mainly just to give Ty Shannon a break because everyone knew he was going to get the ball.
And you could tell Ty Shannon was the leader on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was around him.
They looked to him.
They looked to him basically to carry the offense and really to move the ball. And when they didn't move the ball, he was the leader there. He told him to calm down, and we'll get it next time. But he did so much work, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, he had to be
on both sides of the ball. On both sides of the ball.
Yeah, he played defense as well.
But Shannon's 1-yard touchdown run gave the Blue Devils a 14-6 lead with just under 3 minutes to go in the half. As Buckeye was driving, their running back and pretty much really good running back all year, Justin Kennedy, would fumble the ball deep in Buckeye territory late in the half and set up the Talmadge Blue Devils with really good field position and opportunity to extend that lead.
Yeah.
But, kudos to the Buckeye defense who were able to stop short anything Talmadge threw at them towards the end of that half. And you could kind of feel the momentum starting to kick Buckeye's way after, the mistake, obviously the fumble there by Kennedy, but then the response by the defense to not let them score any points going into halftime. So that at the halftime, the Talmadge still led 14-6, but as I commented to you as we were talking, I'm thinking, okay, that's the kind of thing we saw when we covered Buckeye earlier in the game against Columbia, where it was kind of close in the second half, but they made a couple plays towards the end of that half to kind of jumpstart the game there, or jumpstart their offense coming out of the second half. And that seemed to be the case as Buckeye got the ball to start the second half, and they marched 80 yards down the field, and with a score. And again, it was Adam Favre who had a 28-yard run on that drive and a 15-yard pass to junior wide receiver Anthony Watkins, and then Favre would score from about 5 yards out. And now at this point in time, the Bucks decided to go for 2, and they were able to convert on that. So now in the third quarter, we had a very, very tight 14-14 game.
Yeah,
and that would be the score as the third quarter came to an end. Again, Buckeyes defense was able to stop Talmadge pretty much the entirety of the third quarter. And it was one of those things where every time Talmadge kind of got something going, the Bucks defense made a play. It wasn't a huge play, but it was a play that got them off schedule, and Talmadge just couldn't respond to the final play. Now, as the fourth quarter began, Talmadge took over on their own 24-yard line and Buckeyes defense was able to force a 4th and 7. But Talmadge was able to extend the drive thanks to a successful fake punt, and Rob and I were standing on the Talmadge sidelines, and things looked a little bit weird when that punt formation went out there. And I said to Rob, watch the fake punt here. And sure enough,
I thought there was no way.
He even said it to me. He had on the camera. He goes, "No way, they're not going to fake punt. This is too important of a game."
It's deep in Talmadge territory, so if they didn't get this, Buckeye would have field position probably at about the 25-yard line of Talmadge.
Well, you got to figure the coaching staff must have saw something that tipped them off that said, you know what, we can probably get this to work now.
Yeah,
and
what a call.
Whether that was a calculated risk, which it sounds like it was, or it was more of a, we gotta get them. We gotta break this malaise hip a little bit here, and let's roll the dice and see what happens. I mean, it is the playoffs. there's no time like the present in the playoffs to be able to do something like this to try to get your team kick-started.
Yeah, and that after that fake punt, it kind of it turned the tides a little bit for Talmadge, but I think we also saw that there was a bunch of penalties that kind of came right after that kind of pushed Talmadge back. We're thinking, okay, maybe that fake punt was something that wasn't going to mean much in the course of the game. But Ty Shannon, he kind of had the Bucs defense number all night as he ripped off a fantastic 72-yard run that I thought where I was standing was a touchdown. But Rob, who was I think you were keeping pace for pace with Ty Shannon at one point, like you guys were in unison going down the sidelines. Ty Shannon was stopped on the 4-yard line, but not to worry, Shannon would score in the very next play from 4 yards out, giving the Blue Devils a 21-14 lead with 10:26 left in the game. Now the Blue Devils would add another touchdown to put the game out of reach. 1-yard touchdown plunge from fullback Mike Yamakowski, and giving the Blue Devils a 27-14 lead due to a missed extra point. The Bucs attempt at scoring quickly to get back into the game and maybe get an onside kick. That was, again, not to be, as another fumble from Justin Kennedy kind of sealed the deal for them. And number 7, Talmadge, comes in and upsets number 2, Buckeye, 27-14. Guys, this ends Buckeye's season at 11-1, but most importantly, another playoff, another opportunity to get a playoff win, and another heartbreaking end at home for the Buckeye Bucs. They were led by senior quarterback Adam Favre, who had 2 rushing touchdowns on the night, but they could not get their offense going. And kudos to Talmadge. Again, they relied on their workhorse, Ty Shannon, but they also, they did their homework on defense. They controlled the line of scrimmage. They kept their keys. They kept contained a lot of times, because a lot of the time, we talked about this earlier in the game, Rob, was, Buckeye can beat you north and south, but where they really excel is on those outside jet sweeps to the perimeter, because they have the speed. But Talmadge did a great job staying home, setting the edge, and gang tackling, swarming. If they got out to the perimeter, they didn't get very far. There wasn't a lot of big chunk plays for Buckeye that they're used to. And Talmadge moves on. Now Talmadge will go on to play the St. Vincent St. Mary's, the Fighting Irish, on Friday night, and that will be at Revere High School. So now we have a 1 and a 4 matchup and a 7 and a 6 matchup as St. Vincent St. Mary's was able to defeat Woodridge 27-17 Friday night. So the way it's set up is St. Vincent St. Mary is now playing Talmadge in the regional semifinals. So are you guys shocked by this outcome for Buckeye?
You know what? I wasn't shocked, because, Talmadge has played a lot of tough teams this year, and they've played really tough football. And, so has Buckeye. But when you play in the Suburban League, you're going up against the big boys there. So it really prepares you for the playoffs. Buckeye was in this game, throughout. The fourth quarter, near the end, I thought Talmadge, their defense was tough. They have some big boys on that front line that were pretty impressive, and they got the job done. They made plays when they had to. There were some big fumbles. Justin Kennedy fumbled twice in this game, and it seemed like he couldn't really get out to the outside and make that big play happen. He did have a nice return on kickoff that went to midfield, but really Talmadge kept him in check. They wouldn't let those guys get to the outside, and they contained him, and I think that was huge. Favre had a great game. You could tell he's the leader on that team. When the pocket collapsed, he knew when to run for a first down. He knew when to throw at some points. But Buckeye had a great year. Granted, they're out of the playoffs in the first round, but overall, Talmadge is going to be a tough team. And actually, we had a chance to speak to Alan Vanderink after the game, the Talmadge Blue Devils head coach, and he talked a little bit about the first half and the trick play.
Well, I just think, again, both teams are very similar. So it was long drives, eating up the clock. So it was just it was a good first half. We scored first, and they came back. So it was just about nip and tuck back and forth like we thought it was going to be. Wish we would have scored on the fumble recovery we got to go up 2 scores. We got to give them credit. They stopped us, and so the first half was pretty expected.
Talk a little bit about your on fourth down. You went for it in your own territory there. I thought that was a pretty big turning point in the game.
Yeah, it was our fake punt. We just based off their alignment, we saw that was going to be there, but it was just when we were going to call it, and I just felt at that time, why not?
Talk about the play.
So there was Coach Vanderink of Talmadge, and he was a great guy after the game. Obviously, very happy.
Yeah.
But willing to talk to us there and talk a little bit about the first half in the game. And he said he knew what they were getting into. It was a really physical game overall. But
that's the one thing that we commented on was the hard hitting of that game. Whether it was Buckeye, whether it was Talmadge, whether it was on offense, defense. I mean, those kids were laying everything out on there on the field, and it was very highly competitive game. There wasn't a lot of smack talk, and it was just really down and dirty, hard hitting football. And that's something that I look forward to in the playoffs, especially because these two teams don't have a history. They're playing each other probably for the first time, and you're looking at it, a team in Buckeye that's has faced some adversity, but maybe not faced the type of team that Talmadge is. And you were right, Rob. When you looked at the line of scrimmage from an offensive standpoint for Talmadge, these guys, the offensive linemen were towering big boys, and they were getting, and it was only when they were starting to blitz off the edge and things like that, when the speed of Buckeye was able to get in the backfields, when they interrupted or disturbed the running game. But it was pretty clear from the outset that as Ty Shannon goes, that Talmadge offense goes, and not only on offense but on defense he played corner and safety, and he was back there playing kind of center field against those receivers in Kennedy especially, knocking away passes and things like that, kind of frustrating the receivers for Buckeye.
Yeah, if you look at Buckeye's schedule, and all their conference games are against teams that are in lower divisions.
Uh-huh.
So you play against and their best game this year was against Firelands from Oberlin, and then they also had a very good competitive contest against Black River. We'll mention them here in just a second. And their 3 non-conference games are against Division III teams. One was a good win against Rocky River, and then Cloverleaf, which ended up the year 3-7, then Revere 2-8.
Yeah.
I agree with you. They don't see the type of teams that Talmadge either is or who Talmadge plays.
Right.
Talmadge does have that experience in the Suburban League American Division where they do have a very, very tough slate of games. Highland, Copley, Barberton, Aurora, a lot of good teams in that conference.
Yeah.
That
even
you have
Revere.
to be on your game on.
Yeah, even Revere's a good team. They had a down year this year, but yeah, to your point, that's absolutely correct. Talmadge is used to this, playing against teams like, maybe a step up in talent or maybe a step up in size week in and week out. And when it gets to playoff time, the team like Buckeye, who doesn't play that caliber of opponent, you see that. Not to take anything away from Buckeye.
No, not at all. 10-0 is 10-0.
Yeah, and their
10-0, that's which they've done, which they've been successful in doing the last couple of years. Obviously 4 years in the playoffs straight under Coach Manzoni, now at Brunswick, and another, and they've had great coaches too.
Yeah.
Coach Manzoni, Coach Dennison,
yep.
A long time, very successful coach at Wadsworth. So it's not definitely. There's nothing to take away from their season. It was a great season. They just may not see the type of talent they play in the playoffs on a consistent basis.
Do you think Buckeye, if they can they schedule maybe some different teams in the Suburban League, or maybe to prep them early on in the season, and then obviously they get into their accounts. I don't know if they if they've ever done that, or if they've kind of, I think, stuck with some of the same teams obviously that they get every year.
I think Cloverleaf for them is a local rivalry. So,
yeah.
That's something that's not going to go away, and really that's just up to Cloverleaf to get better.
Yeah.
Rocky River's a good game for them. It's a very good game for them, and Rocky River, the last couple of years, they've been able to get 7-8 wins. So that's a very good win for Buckeye. Now the first game against Revere got them last year or 2 years ago. Revere was able to get them.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing. It's not a terrible matchup, but at the end of the year, when you look at the records, Revere's not really helping them out with playoff points, and Cloverleaf's definitely not helping them out with playoff points. That said, they were still the number 2 seed.
Right.
They had enough. They had enough wins to get up to where they needed to be, and then they had a great season. But unfortunately for this is a situation where the seed really doesn't matter. And I can't imagine many teams that don't have to play Buckeye are going to want to play Buckeye.
No,
because they don't. If they're a fringe team that says we could beat them. We could beat them, but why take the loss if it's going to be if we can schedule someone else?
Right.
Yeah.
And you look at a team like Talmadge. I mean, again, nothing taken away from Buckeye, but Talmadge came in and they executed a defensive game plan. Buckeye's been scoring at will pretty much all season, and they held them to 14 points. That's no fluke there. That's a solid defensive plan that was executed probably as perfectly as could have been asked for. And as the Talmadge coach said, had they capitalized on that fumble, this game may have been over before it started in the second half. I mean, it was a close game in the third quarter, and that's exactly what you want in the playoffs. And unfortunately, Talmadge was able to take advantage of some. I mean, my hat's off to Ty Shannon. The guy had over 200 yards rushing, and he was the clear focal point. And at one point, Talmadge was saying, "Look, this is who's getting the ball. Try and stop him." And Buckeye couldn't do it. I mean, that's a game plan on both sides, defensive and offensive, that they just executed well, and that happens in the playoffs. It takes nothing away. It says nothing against the talent of Buckeye. It just says on Friday night, Talmadge came in and executed their game plan better than Buckeye did, and that's what happened. And unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles in high school football. And that's what we talked about all going up to the playoffs. Is you have to have your best game 4 straight weeks to get to the state championship, or you know what I'm saying. And you there's no margin for error. This isn't like playing a basketball series or a baseball series. You have 48 minutes to put it together, and if you can't, you're sitting out. Your season's over, and then the team across from you is continuing on, and that's what happened here against Buckeye. Or I'm sorry, against Talmadge.
Yeah, absolutely. So quickly, we'll take a look at some other local schools, specifically a team that Buckeye is very familiar with, the Black River Pirates out of Sullivan in Medina County. They took on Gilmore Academy up in Gates Mills up here in the Cleveland area. Slow start for Black River, but they got it going on the ground, 44-13.
Wow.
The Black River Pirates utilizing that pistol wing T formation that Coach Al Young has modified over the years. Their game is still predicated on that triple option offense, and if they can get it going against teams who aren't really familiar with it, this is what can happen. And they were able to steamroll over the number 6 seed Gilmore Academy. They will take on the Wycliffe Blue Devils. They were a surprise 25-22 winner over previously unbeaten Orwell Grand Valley.
Wow.
So that was a very tough game there. So Black River's going to take on Wycliffe. Wycliffe will come in that game 8-3. Black River will be 10-1. That game will be played Friday night, 7:30 at North Ridgeville.
Okay.
One of the other games is of note. 2 games specifically. The Bay Village Rockets.
Yes.
They were 10-0 coming into this game. They were the champions of the Great Lakes Conference. They hosted the Mansfield Tigers, and they did defeat the Mansfield Tigers by a score of 28-18. This was a Division III Region 10 matchup. Bay is now 11-0 in on their season. They're going to play at Serpentini Field in North Royalton next week.
Nice.
Their opponent, the winner of number 3 seed Padua and number 6 seed University School. Well, this was a hell of a game. Padua ends up pulling it out 48-41.
Wow.
Padua continues their dream season. They are 9-2 overall. A very, very high-scoring team that the Bruins are. So we're going to have a great game in Division III Region 10 between the Bay Rockets 11-0 against the Padua Bruins 9-2. So I'll be interested in seeing if Bay can hold Padua off the scoreboard, because Padua is very, very talented, and the only teams that they've really run into issues with have been Hoban.
A lot of teams probably run into Hoban.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hoban and NDCL, who is still dancing in the playoffs themselves. So, very, very good game going on in North Royalton High School, Division III, Region 10. Glenville in Division III, Region 10, traveled up to Toledo to take on Toledo Central Catholic. They were shut out by a score of 28-0. So the champions of the Senate League end their season at 7-2. 7-4 overall. They lost their 3 non-conference games against Euclid, St. Ed's, and Mentor. They did win out in the Senate League, but that got them the 8th seed in the playoffs. But Central Catholic is a traditionally very tough team up in the Toledo area.
Yeah, and I believe Deshaun Kaiser went up to Toledo Central Catholic. I believe
he did.
Yes, indeed.
They've had a lot. He
also graduated from a pretty prestigious university as well.
Yeah, I don't know what university.
Number 3 in the nation.
But
wow. I'm sorry, that was
going on to Division 6, Region 21. This is a team that's just south of Medina County, very northern Wayne County. The Creston Norwayne Bobcats. They are just beneath Seville as far as where they are located on the map. They are a 22-13 victor over Western Reserve. They are now 10-1 on the season. They will go into a contest against Rootstown. That is Division 6, Region 21.
Wow. Ed's digging deep tonight.
It really is.
Yeah, no
That's
kidding.
impressive.
Give us some schools some love that probably don't hear
impressive.
too much love. Why not? And then Cuyahoga Heights. That's actually a team that gets plenty of love.
Yeah.
Cuyahoga Heights did defeat the defending champions of Division 7, Warren John F. Kennedy. They qualified for the playoffs with a 4-6 record, by the way.
That's unbelievable.
Warren JFK did.
Wow.
Yeah.
They must have played some really tough opponents or something and got some wins somewhere.
They did beat. I don't know. I have no idea how they got in the playoffs. Their two best wins were over a 5-5 team and a 6-5 team.
Wow.
Mind you, so you had a Division 5 team, Division 5 team. Yeah, I'm not sure how they got in, but maybe, good on them. But unfortunately, they met their demise at the hands of the Cuyahoga Heights Redskins. That was a 40-12 match. Victory for the Redskins. They will take on East Canton with a big victory there. East Canton did get a victory over Youngstown Valley Christian School in Division 7, Region 25.
Wow. But Cuyahoga Heights, so they're in the. I wonder if there's been a year they have not made the playoffs because I think they're there every single year. The Redskins.
Seemingly, I mean, they are a very.
I want to say there was I think they did.
They're there quite often, along with another Division 6 team that they play on a consistent basis. The Kirtland Hornets, also in Division 6, Region 21. They did take on Liberty out of Youngstown, and they did get a victory, 40-13. Kirtland defeated Youngstown Liberty. They will face a very formidable opponent in Division 6, the Mogador Wildcats. Mogador comes into this game 9-1 overall. 9-1 overall. They defeated East Palestine in their contest in Division 6, Region 21. So just a quick look.
Nice work.
A little bit outside of our realm there.
Yeah.
But teams that I think are relatively local that, now that most of our teams are either not playing or continue to get knocked out, we'll spend some time and find some other games that we can talk about and try to get some more schools involved.
Absolutely. And Sports on Tap, our game of the week this week will be at Brunswick Automart Stadium. It's the Wadsworth Grizzlies against the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs. That should be an outstanding game. I'm looking forward to covering that game. We've covered Olmsted Falls this year, and Ed and Josh went to
Wadsworth last week.
Went to Wadsworth last week, so we've seen both teams now. Wadsworth, a high-powered offensive team, where Olmsted Falls likes to offensively try to take care of the football and take some time off the clock, but they have a tough running game. Are they going to have to expand a little bit against the Wadsworth team? We'll see.
It's going to depend if they can keep Wadsworth off the board. I mean, it's going to be a great game plan to keep Joey Boffman and company off the field. But if they're not getting points off of it, Wadsworth's been finding ways to score at least 50 points a game every single game this year. So that'll be another question really to the game is, what will happen when Wadsworth eventually runs into a team that can't just steamroll and outscore?
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll be this week against Olmsted Falls. It very well may be the following week when you have if taking on the winner of Avon and Highland, for the Division II Region 6 championship. But we'll see what happens here. I think Olmsted Falls is going to need a couple more trick plays here.
Yeah.
To be able to keep Wadsworth honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I think, an excellent game, and I'm looking forward to see. I'd like to see a little bit more defense played than the Wadsworth, than the first Wadsworth game. But you never know. I mean, those shootout games are fun. Not so much fun to recap when you're trying to remember who scored when, but definitely fun to watch when you're there. So, that should be a good time for you guys out there on Friday night at your old stomping grounds. I know it's not the Brunswick Blue Devils in the playoffs, but you're familiar enough with the stadium to know the ins and the outs.
There's a lot of great games out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anyone listening, and if you got nothing going on Friday night, I mean, choose any one of the big stadiums around. You're going to find a great high school football game. It's reasonably priced.
Yep.
Get some hot chocolate, get a piece of pizza, and
It's
enjoy some really quality high school football.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially now when you start getting later in the playoffs, you're going to really start to see the talent and also some great games. So if you can't make it to Brunswick, right down the street in Strongsville, there's another great game with Highland and Avon. Yeah,
Yes.
North Royalton, North Ridgeville. It's everywhere.
Yes, absolutely.
Guys, great job tonight. Any last thoughts on the playoffs or any of the teams tonight?
Just good luck to all the teams that are still left in the playoffs, and hopefully everyone gets through unscathed and hard hitting and highly competitive games are what we always look forward to here.
Yeah, we'll be back next week recapping the regional semifinals for each region, and we'll hear the outcome of the Olmsted Falls Wadsworth game, as long as all the other games involving the Southwestern Conference, the Greater Cleveland Conference, and the Suburban League.
Yeah, and go to sportsontappodcast.com to see our games, videos, podcasts, also on YouTube. If you want to follow our games of the week, go to Twitter at SOT Podcast. We're on Facebook as well. NEOSportsInsiders.com also has high school football action from all the different games. So we're Sports on Tap. I want to thank everyone for listening and joining us. We'll see you next Monday night for, again, our recaps from the playoffs. For Sean Duffy, Ed Dick, I'm Rob Troutman saying so long. Have a great week, everyone. Good luck to everybody in the playoffs.